Prime Minister opens church in Central Province. Eastern Highlands is #1 coffee producer. Pruaitch confident of leading National Alliance.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for Saturday's news. Prime Minister Peter ONeill was on the Aroma Coast in the Abau District, Central Province, on Friday. He was guest at the opening of the new Maupa Levapuka United Church building. The site of the new church is where the village's first United Church building was built when pioneer missionary James Chalmers was in the area.
The Prime Minister arrived at Maupa village in style. Guests included local MP and Minister for Public Service Sir Pukatemu, Governor for Central Kila Hauda, Rigo MP and Minister for Justice and Attorney General Anopala, the Minister for Mining Baron Chen, and the Secretary for DPM John Kali, to name a few. The church is named Diorita II as it replaces the first Diorita church building, so named in honor of its long-serving pastor Reverend George Geno and his wife Rita. Representing the George family was Emily George Taule from Transparency International PNG. She thanked the people of Maupa for continuing the memory of her grandfather's service for over 30 years of pastoral work at Maupa village. Prime Minister Peter ONeill said the church was important to the community as many times it filled in the role of the government.
We made a very strong commitment as government that we must partner the churches and their work throughout the country. I am pleased that through our Community Development Fund, when we were requested to assist, we did put some contributions. But most of the work came from the community, and I want to thank each and every one of you.
The Prime Minister then unveiled the church plaque. Laka Renagi, Bishop of the East Central Papua region, opened the church doors and led the first sermon. Prime Minister Peter ONeill also made contributions to local churches, including the Egalauna and the Gavakala SDA churches, to the tune of 100,000 kina each. Reporting from the Aroma Coast in the Central Province, Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
On the 19th of August, World Humanitarian Day is observed worldwide since the United Nations General Assembly established it in 2008. The Office of the United Nations in Papua New Guinea yesterday released a statement in recognition of humanitarians all over the world who dedicate their lives to lend a hand when major disasters strike.
So often on a voluntary basis, humanitarians worldwide sacrifice their time and in tragic cases lose their lives so others less fortunate can have the chance to rebuild their lives in the wake of major disasters and conflicts. UN Resident Coordinator and spokesperson Roy Trivedi, in a new statement yesterday, said the UN General Assembly recognizes that their efforts have never been more crucial than in the last 20 years.
The work of a lot of the humanitarians has become more difficult. So in the last 19-20 years, more than 1,000 humanitarian workers have been kidnapped. Many have actually also lost their lives and so on.
Trivedi touched on the humanitarian action taking place on our very soil, not just by major aid organizations, but by local community members whose efforts in most cases are overlooked.
We've had this year also a huge amount of action on the post-drought recovery, helping people with food security and also with things like nutrition support, seeds and tools and so on. And we've also got places like Manam where people have been displaced, or places like the cataracts and so on. So humanitarian action is really important in Papua New Guinea, and it's important in the world.
The UN General Assembly, he said, tries as much to ease the efforts put in by humanitarians by working closely with aid agencies, disaster management centers, and government organizations to provide support. He concluded making an appeal to the general public to appreciate humanitarian efforts worldwide.
No There has never been a time in history where humanitarian action has mattered as much as it does now.
Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
A joint analysis undertaken by the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary and the Australian Federal Police has highlighted shortages in accommodation for single officers in Port Moresby and Lae. Following the analysis in 2014, the Australian government invested in building 4 dormitories consisting of 35 rooms each. This infrastructure, constructed opposite the Bomana Police Training College, was officially opened this week.
This facility was first constructed by the Red Sea Housing Estate at the LNG site in Southern Highlands before it was dismantled and reconstructed here in Bomana. The 4 dormitories consists of 140 rooms, including ablution blocks, kitchen and laundry facilities. A bucket containing keys of the rooms was presented to Police Commissioner Gary Baki to signify the handing over of the buildings to RPNGC.
Mission Commander, that I think it's very appreciative for the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary to take delivery of this, and of course it's going to go in the long run in terms of our preparations for APEC in 2018.
Transforming the Police Training College into a College of Excellence is one of the 3 goals listed in the Police Modernization Program. The construction of these buildings is an approach RPNGC and AFP have taken to accommodate recruits who pass out of Bomana before they are posted to other provinces.
I think one of the most important things going forward for the policing partnership, though, is that we have a major event coming up towards the end of 2018, or pretty much for the whole of 2018, and that is the APEC meeting. So a lot of the policing partnership work will go to focus on some assistance to the RPNGC.
The female officers who will be taking part in security operations for the Under-21 FIFA Women's Championship in November will be the first officers to use this facility.
So I want to say on behalf of the Constabulary, express our sincere appreciation and thank you to the partnership program.
A similar facility was erected in Lae, Morobe Province under the same partnership program. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Coffee from cooperatives from the Eastern Highlands, Morobe and Jiwaka have been ranked among the top 10 coffees produced in Papua New Guinea. The Timuza coffee from Eastern Highlands came out number 1 in the 2015 coffee cupping competition, the decision reached by a group of international judges who have been in Lae over the past week. The ranking, accompanied by recommendations from coffee experts, paves way for access to international specialty markets.
Dancers from Langima in Menyamia district opened the night which marked the end of a week-long event in Lae where international coffee judges worked to find the coffee that would be ranked number 1.
The future is bright.
At the final part of the program, Rose Romulus, one of the few coffee quality experts from the Coffee Industry Corporation, announced the winner.
Timuza Cooperative from
Timuza coffee from the Eastern Highlands scored the highest. This means, upon recommendation from the team of international judges, Timuza coffee could end up in specialty coffee shops around the world. Also in attendance, the Agriculture Minister, Tommy Tomskol, who has, along with other key ministers, pushed for the revival of a farmer-focused industry.
You are here because I want you to change the mentality of our policymakers. Those who decide who should get what in terms of money.
I'm planning new seedling and by expanding capacity for rural area or apim or quota for you so you can kiss some good market now winning some percentage of the world market.
Going into the future, Morobe Province aims to improve quality and consistency as the meeting point for farmers, exporters and buyers. It's a move that will be backed by the provincial government. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
You're with National EMTV News. We'll have more local stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. A ward councillor in Salamaua LLG in Morobe Province, Elisha Ewing, says sea piracy is still a major problem for the people. He explains village people encounter these incidents when they least expect it, and despite reporting the matter to police, they cannot be investigated due to a lack of resources available.
Villagers living along the Morobe Patrol Post area travel to and from Lae by boat to access government services. Boat is the only form of transport for them. Along the coastline, there have been many instances where boats have been attacked by criminals. Elisa Ewing believes police presence along the Morobe coast can help minimize sea piracy. But that's not the only problem. Other crimes have been on the rise in Salamaua LLG due to the consumption of homebrew and marijuana. Ewing says public servants who were sent there to work have also become victims of the crime in the community. The Provincial Police Command is now taking measures to control sea piracy and other law and order problems in the area. The command is working with the UN district in setting up a surveillance center. It will be responsible for combating sea piracy. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Lae.
Student groups at Bugandi Secondary School in Lae who have been involved in ongoing violent clashes appear to have pledged to end the violence. Over 5 years, several students have been killed and injured as a result of the fighting. The students-initiated gathering yesterday is the latest attempt that authorities hope will put an end to the fighting.
For the better part of the year, Bugandi Secondary School has been in the news for the wrong reasons. Despite numerous attempts to end the violent clashes between student groups, fighting and disruptions have continued. Yesterday, the students announced they were ending the violence that stems from organized clashes. This comes after various attempts were made previously to stop the violence, including a study carried out to examine the structure and makeup of the groups that intimidate and harass students who belong to opposing groups.
The head boy, Paul Bayu, who is also the TSCF leader, stepped in, and he is the main force behind the change that we have seen today now.
The groups also burned books containing lists of student names. A former student also said he wanted to see an end to the violence.
Relatives of the late Ira Ora, who was allegedly shot by Port Moresby police, will be presenting a petition to the government next week. Their demands will include a commission of inquiry into land titles on the 5 portions of land the relatives have settled on, and for the government to fund the funeral expenses. They met this afternoon.
The late Ira Ora's death resulted from a dispute over this piece of land between the developer, Jeffrey Kennedy, and the settlers here. The conflict escalated when 4 permanent houses were demolished under police presence. Ora was killed last Saturday when police fired gunshots to disperse the crowd here. His body is still at the Dove Funeral Home at Tarama.
We are calling on the Department of National Planning, the Secretary, Management, the Chairman to come clear on the title. We have 2 titles. The other one is 3323, and the one that settlers as is 3608.
Ora's death has prompted his relatives to question how the piece of land where they are settling on was given to the developer. They say since the shootout there was no proper communication between the police and the community, and they are requesting the police investigators to quickly identify the shooter involved.
We are Papua New Guineans, so you cannot hire their own policemen to kill another Papua New Guineans. That is another wrong too. You see, so we want these things to be done in a more amicable way.
The petition will be presented on Wednesday. EMTV News is yet to get a response from the National Capital District Metropolitan Superintendent Ben Turi on this matter. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
An application filed by the Ombudsman Commission to review its directive to suspend a proposal to build a state property was refused by the National Court in Port Moresby. Justice Colin McKyle upheld the judicial review because the court found that the defendant had no powers to issue such an order. The OC directive was issued in 2014.
The parties involved in this court proceeding are Public Service Minister Sepuka Temu, Personal Development Secretary John Cully, and construction companies Central Land and Namai Investment Limited. Sepuka Temu and John Cully are first plaintiffs, while Central Land and Namai Investment Limited are second plaintiffs. Chief Ombudsman Rigo Lua and Phoebe Sengitari are the defendants. This matter is in relation to a directive issued by the Ombudsman Commission in 2014 to stop the first and second plaintiff from going ahead with the construction of a 27-story building for government departments and agencies. Mr. Lua told the first and second plaintiff that an investigation was in place and a provisional report will be made available later. However, the court found that to date, no report was presented on the investigation. On this ground, Justice McKyle concluded that though the OC had some powers to give directives under Section 216 of the Constitution, that direction interfered with two construction companies. McKyle said instead of being an aid in the defendant's investigation, the directive became oppressive and unreasonable because OC failed to provide a provisional report. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
National Alliance Party leader Patrick Pruaitch, in his keynote address at the party's fundraiser event, announced that preparations for the general election would kick off on Monday. The parliamentary leader reflected on the party's experience under Papua New Guinea's revered founding father, Sir Michael Somare, as its greatest advantage.
And it will be challenging. Time long cross go come, time long debate will come, disagreement will arise, but I hope that the next 2 days we will be able to agree and move on to finalize our strategies and our candidates for 2017 general election.
The Aitapelumi MP added he was happy with the party's current arrangements insofar as the coalition government to run for its first general elections under his leadership. He called on the party's members to brace themselves for preparations on Monday.
Most commentators and academics pronounce PNG as a failed state. That was in 2002. But under the leadership of Sir Michael Somare, we got into government. In 4 months, we were able to reverse the trend and turn the ship around. So in terms of experience, our party has got that.
Founder of the party, Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, who was unable to make the event, conveyed his apology. In attendance, though, was the Prime Minister Peter ONeill and wife Linda Babao. Current President of the National Alliance Party, Walter Schnaubelt, expressed his confidence in Patrick Pruaitch.
The father of the nation passed on the leadership baton to him.
Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
You're with National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. We'll have updates from Rio and the Hunters aim high. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with an Olympic update, and our Taekwondo athlete Samantha Kasman will be fighting at 1:30 a.m. Sunday morning PNG time in the plus 67 kg category against Great British athlete Bianca Walkden. Walkden is ranked number 3 at the Olympics and is the 2015 Taekwondo World Champion. Samantha will go into the fight as the underdog, but she has been preparing well for her Olympic debut after watching all of her fellow Team PNG athletes compete before her. She has remained focused throughout this despite niggling injuries, and a slight cold she experienced will not stop her from putting on the performance of her life. Best of luck to Samantha. To football, and two-time World Cup winners and three-time bronze medalists, Germany have won the women's gold at the Olympics for the first time in their history. Germany defeated Sweden 2-1 this morning. To rugby league now, and the SPPNG Hunters flew off to Cairns yesterday for their match against 10th placed Northern Pride. Northern Pride is a few points short of making it into the top 6, and they will be as eager to beat the Hunters.
The Hunters will be guaranteed a home final if they finish in the top 3 on the ISC ladder. Next week will be their last game of the season, which will be against the Sunshine Coast Falcons at the National Football Stadium. The last 2 games will be important for the Hunters as they will be fighting to stay in the top 3. Despite losing 4 backs, Thompson Tete to injury, and Justin Olam, Blanda Bavu and Adex Wera through suspension, they expect a no less intense match to last weekend's nail-biter against the Blackhawks. Coach Michael Marum has stuck to the same team he named earlier this week, with Stargroth Amin back in the fullback position and Noel Zemming in the centres. Edward Goma has been shifted into the centres while Philemon Kimisive takes his place on the wing. The Boers brothers will be controlling play on the field while Warren Glare starts in the hooker position. This is Warutovo Puara Jr. sidelined on the bench. Adam Korave comes off the bench after recently recovering from a knee injury. The Hunters play Northern Pride at Barlow Park on Sunday at 3:35 p.m. before returning to Port Moresby on Monday to prepare for their final season proper game at the National Football Stadium. Elijah Lavette, National MTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. We'll have for you the weather details for the next 24 hours when we return.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Fine weather in Port Moresby, brief showers elsewhere in the southern region. To the Momasa region, a shower or 2 in Ley, rain in Wau, cloudy in Madang, mostly fine in Wewak, fine in Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Boka, fine weather over the next 24 hours. And in the Highlands region, brief showers in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, rain over the next 24 hours.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is this Saturday, the 20th of August 2016. From the MTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.